Hello, everyone. Nice to see so many of you here. I'm Roope Mokka, and I am from Demos Helsinki. We are a Nordic think tank that looks at the future. And a couple of years ago, we started asking ourselves, what is the future of startups? What happens after the search is done, games are done, instant messaging is done, social networks are done, email is done, file sharing is done, what next? And we stumbled into something really, really exciting, a new kind of a narrative of the space that startups will start inhabiting. And that is a space of the material world, if you like. Bits and atoms are meeting. They're meeting in a wonderful way. They're meeting in such a way that natural resources are becoming the new playground of startups. The more and more we looked at this phenomena, we understood that this is only a beginning of a large revolution. What we are experiencing here, kind of the hub of startup revolution, is only a very, very minor thing. And therefore, I started thinking that maybe we should have a new name for these. Maybe we should reframe the whole idea of startups. And therefore, we call them the Smartups. So now we're launching today a Smartup Manifesto. And I'm going to try to translate to you why I think that what we're experiencing today is only the beginning. And I'm going to try and explain it to the Cleantech crowd especially. And we call it Consumer Cleantech to make it more understandable, right? So let's have a look at the biggest startup news this year. Why do I say it's the biggest Cleantech news as well? And perhaps more interestingly, why on earth is Airbnb valued at 10 billion? Or even more so, why is Uber valued at 17 billion? Why does Google buy Nest that has a handful of users for 3.2 billion? Why is one of the only successful IPOs in the startup world coming from O-Power, someone that sends data to the utilities about the use of energy? We started wondering these questions, and to be able to answer them, we have to first dive into the question about what essentially is Cleantech. My understanding of Cleantech is that Cleantech is smart utilization of resources. So it's not just smart production, but it's also smart use of resources. The two examples that we saw here before, Pure Waste and Swap.com, move in that territory. And that is what we find really interesting, and that's the territory of Smartups. Of course, the arc example of a Smartup is Airbnb. Most of our natural resources, most of the material world, most of the atoms in this world are within concrete and steel. These houses, halls, our private homes, how you heat them, how you build them, how you demolish them, and how you refurbish them is essentially what is the material world about. Now, Airbnb has found a way to share that. And I wouldn't be surprised if in 10 years' time, for this particular reason, Airbnb would be one of the biggest companies in the world. Because they have created a catalog of private property, unforeseen to man. And they have changed our behavior in such a way that, for example, 2 years ago, if someone would have told me that you're going to have a stranger staying in your flat, and it would have been totally normal, I think I wouldn't have liked that. Nest, handful of users. Why does Google want it so badly? Nest does a very simple thing. It optimizes the temperature of your home. So once again, it interacts with the physical world, it creates data of that, and it sends it back to Google. Oculus Rift is a very particular type of Smartup. It was just bought by Facebook, and it substitutes travel with telepresence. You don't have to go somewhere. You don't have to use all those natural resources to travel from point A to point B. You can rather go there by putting these glasses on your head. So, my message to the people of Cleantech is that it's time to meet a very particular and interesting creature called the human. Some people call him or her the user also. And I'm going to share some insights about human beings that I have found very, very attractive myself. Humans are the source of all economic value. Someone somewhere has to decide to buy something before any type of economic activity whatsoever happens, right? All production whatsoever has got an end user. There's some kind of a transaction that an individual or a collective of individuals makes. So to be able to create economic value, you have to speak to these humans, right? Another interesting thing about humans is that it's humans that drive technology deployment. For example, we would not have as powerful ICT in our hands if a very smart group of individuals in some time in the late 70s would not have decided that everyone needs a computer, or actually 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 computers, right? Fourth insight, which is very new from the Cleantech perspective, is that humans have practically unlimited reasons to buy something. And only one of them is efficiency and savings. So in this sense, Cleantech industries that have looked at how to make things more efficient can no longer speak that language to individuals, because we have meanings. We have reasons that have to do with our identity, how we feel, or how we misunderstand things, and so forth, which creates unlimited amount of reasons to buy, and one of them is savings. So what we are experiencing here is that the future of Cleantech is basically going very much the same direction as the rest of the economy. It's going from products to services, it's going from production to consumption, and in concrete terms, it's going from battery to Tesla. Talking about Tesla, never ever think that Tesla is a car. Tesla is not a car. Tesla is an application. It's a transportation application, right? Yes, it looks very much like a car, but if you think about how you use it, you basically download it from the internet. It has no shops, right? You don't take it to the service station. Rather, the application tells Tesla that there's something wrong with the car, and the engineers from Tesla will call you and ask, when can we come and service your car? It updates itself, even though it's part of the physical world. Right. So, in our research, we managed to identify 4 different ways in which startups are starting to interact with the physical world, with the natural resources. One of them is sharing. We saw Swap.com as a good example of that, and of course Airbnb is doing, and Uber is doing miles with that. Then there's optimization. Nest is a good example of that, and all the smart home and smart city applications that this hall is filled with are other good examples of that. Then there's dematerialization and smart substitution. We could think of teleconferencing as an early example of that. Of course, virtual reality is another one. Replacing petroleum-used cars, using cars with electric vehicles is another one. Or replacing animal proteins with plant-based proteins is another good example. Last but not least, we have upcycling and refurbishment, taking care of the physical surroundings and making them more valuable, because that's another very interesting quality of the material world, that it has wear and tear. You need to prepare it, you need to take care of it, you need to refurbish it, you need to make it more energy efficient, and so forth and so forth. And of course, the real beauty is that when you manage to put all these things together, when you manage to create some kind of combinations and overlaps between these. Airbnb and Nest are already working together, but imagine that when a home automation service starts telling your refurbishment service that you can save this and this money by this and this much money by changing, for example, the windows. What kind of opportunities that offers to be able to combine refurbishment and optimization, or create different types of other kind of hybrid models between these. So, do I have still some time? 1 minute. Okay, let's ask, so where are the markets? Let's talk about markets for 1 minute's time. The markets, as I see it, are in three different categories. They are in homes, cars, and foods. So very, very, very basic stuff. And what's good about homes, cars, and food is that they are big money markets. And this is why we have decided to call these, instead of startups, Smartups. Traditional startups have worked with very small markets. And now when we start working with the material world, with the natural resources, we go into really, really big markets. And I'm going to leave you with this. Imagine that you're a startup that wants to make a great impact or create a lot of wealth. Almost 300,000 euros is used by everyone in the European Union, from the richest to the poorest, on average, on housing. Or during their lifetime. You really don't need to get a big share of that. Or, alternatively, you can, of course, concentrate on, for example, communications or some of these smaller ones that startups have worked with previously. So, with these words, thank you very much. We have a couple of copies of the Smartup Manifesto available there. Thanks.
Thanks a lot, Roope. Where can we find the manifesto online?
Yes, the manifesto can be found from demoshelsinki.fi. I have a couple of copies here. Twitter, Instagram, Imgur, everything will be full of it.
Thanks.